You better lock it up.
You better lock it up.
No, you lock it up.
You lock it up.
Lock it up.
Lock it up.
Hey, J-Bo Nation! Shaming of Jay. He's not a dopey dumb bitch. He gets laid. The court jester. The court DJ. It's time to dive into the case. To the case.
What's up, everybody?
Hey everyone.
Oh my god, I could put my name on here. This entire time I didn't realize that I can put my name on here. Oh, the things that happen. What's up, everybody? Hey MJ, hey Missy. Hey Keystone.
Hi Afy. Hi Viv.
We got our matchies.
Yeah, we're matching.
Publicly buzzed. By the way, this stream will take you in the portal to Feral Friday with Chris Duet. These shirts are awesome. It's Friday, and it's Friday night psych. You know what that means? You guys have been tired of me talking since probably like Tuesday. So now I could just shut the hole in my face and let my beautiful wife take over here and just push buttons for you. So, but before I do that, I just want to say this week has been awesome, and I'm looking at all the mods in there, and like I just thought like I got to thank them because, you know, as hard as we've been working this week, the mods have been working, and like we really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for everything you do. Also, thank you guys all for being with us here this whole week. This week has been crazy. I think we're at. Let me just check a second here. I think since the last time we checked, we're at 5170. I'm curious. I'm wondering, babe, what do you think about this theory that I just thought of? Those 90 days where I was like not monetized, did like when that came off, did like I then get more put into like the For You page? Like I wonder if the amount of followers that I've got since, but I don't know. It's just we haven't got that many followers since we did Rex Hierman. That was a lot, but there hasn't been like a big case. So like I'm just curious if that is. What do you think, babe?
That's true. That could be it. I mean,
I don't know.
you never know with algorithm.
That's true. And before I let you go, there is the trigger warning. This is a case that deals with child abuse. We ask that you do not put the children's name in the chat. We can't show. We're not going to show any clips of the kids. We're not anyway, just because they're the kids. But also, YouTube is like anyone who plays their stuff, your shit's getting taken down. So we're not going to do that. And babe, do you want to give your spiel and then go for it?
Yeah, sure. Hello, if you've never been to Friday Night Psych before, I'm Shannon and I am a master's level mental health professional. I am a therapist. I love to do Friday Night Psych. I don't do therapy while I'm here, but I look at situations through the lens of mental health / psychology, and I'm super excited to delve into the topic tonight. As a therapist, I work primarily on a treatment team. I don't diagnose people, and I do not write prescriptions for medications, as I am not a doctor. So, just wanted to say that, yes, it's very important to me that these children, although they were publicized their entire lives, at least the younger two, really, primarily their entire life. And their names have been out in the media for a long time because that's the choice that their parents made. We are not making that choice tonight because they do not have consent, and children can't, give consent because they are under the age of 18. And she does have 2 adult children, and they also have been somewhat in the public eye, but I would also like for us to not put their names in the chat either. We are talking primarily about the people who are charged with a crime and their Ruby Franke's husband, Kevin Franke. So we will be talking about them as a couple, and we will be talking about the other person who is charged with this crime. So I thought I would start out with just a brief timeline of kind of the players and what's going on in case you are not aware of this case. So Ruby is a 41-year-old stay-at-home mom who turned into a vlogger, a family vlogger. And her husband, Kevin Franke, it's Frankie, I have determined because I've gone back and watched all these videos of Ruby introducing herself. And so you say her name, Frankie. Her husband is 44 years old. His name's Kevin. They are both Mormon. So he is they were married in the temple, which is a big deal if you're Mormon. It's very important, very special. And he was a former BYU professor. I am not sure. He stopped. He was teaching classes there last fall, but he is not on the syllabi or the organization rosters for this coming fall. So he is no longer working there. Also, people who are Mormon who have talked about seeing him lately, and he has quite a beard on his face, and you are not allowed to have a job within the Mormon church with facial hair. So they also are saying he did not just get moved to some other churchy job. So we don't know what Kevin's doing. So that's kind of a mystery. However, they have 6 children together, and Ruby also has 3 sisters in her family of origin, and they are all family vloggers. So a family vlogger, if you've never heard that term before, is people that basically show their entire life. They show their children's faces on the internet, constantly on YouTube. They don't block out anything. They are going over life moments and different things, and they are doing that for monetization and for brand deals and that types of thing. Somebody asked how old she is. She's 41. He's 44. All right. So in 2015, we have an ex-Mormon in here who's never heard of the facial hair thing. So that information I got from, and I put all of my sources in the description already, except for one. So I will put one more. I have one more, but I will cite it as I go. And the facial hair thing I learned from an amazing podcast / YouTube channel. It's from 2 ex-Mormons named Jordan and McKay, and they're a married couple, and they're amazing as far as giving you the angle on the Mormon church. And they just do a really wonderful job with their content. It's very well researched. And so their channel is in the description box. So you can go follow that if that's content that you might be interested in. So in 2015, Ruby and Kevin launched their YouTube channel, which is called 8 Passengers. So 6 kids, and the 2 of them. By 2017, they already have over 1 million followers. So they are making money pretty quickly on YouTube. And within the next couple years, they have over 2.2 million followers. They're a very, very popular show. They were very popular with a younger audience of kids that, because until now, a lot of adults weren't watching YouTube regularly as much as our kids were on YouTube. So they did have a big draw with younger audiences as well. Now, at the point that they started this whole journey in 2015, the term influencer wasn't really even in our vocabulary as a person with a job of that. That kind of came about in around 2018. And around that same time of 2018, 2019, this is kind of woo woo because we don't really know when they meet this person, but they meet a person who is named Jody Hildebrandt, and she is the other one who is charged, just like Ruby, with child abuse. So she has multiple charges of child abuse as well as Ruby. Kevin Franke does not have any charges as of yet. He is also not in jail. Ruby and Jody are both in jail. So we will get to that. We're going to get to what happened on the day of the arrest. But I just wanted to put that out there. So they meet Jody Hildebrandt, and she is the founder of a life coaching group called Connections, Connextions. And it does things like women's retreats and marriage things. And she is trained as a marriage and family therapist. Now, she has, at one point in time, had her license revoked from her licensing agency. I'm not sure exactly which agency she's licensed through, but she lost that for an amount of time because she broke confidentiality. One of her big areas of study is within married relationships. She has a real just knack for pointing out men who are porn and sex addicts within her, and she's also a Mormon. So some people have surmised that maybe these men don't exactly have a porn and sex addiction. It may be that it just doesn't align with how the Mormon church, views how sexual relationships should be within a marriage. So that is like her little niche. And she breaks confidentiality with a man who, is in counseling with her and telling her about this. And she goes to the freaking temple elders, or I'm actually not sure they're called elders in her religion. That's what they were called in my religion. She goes to the temple higher ups and she says to them, so and so has a sex addiction. And here's what he's been telling me about how he's watching all this porn. So she totally breaks confidentiality and she ends up losing her license. Then, however, she gets her license back. I don't think she ever should have. That's like paramount. If Shelly were here, she's not for the weekend. She would tell you along with me that that's like the tantamount thing about being a mental health professional is that your patient's confidentiality and privacy is above everything else. And unless there's a subpoena, you are not going to say one thing about any client. You're going to pretend you don't even know who people are talking about if they ask you if you've treated a client before. Unless the client themselves says hi to me in public, I will walk right by them because that is how important confidentiality is. Even though they may not know anybody else at the grocery store and me saying hi wouldn't be a big deal. But you are putting your license in danger by doing that. It's unethical.
It's kind of like, it seems like it's almost like if you're a clerk of the court and walk past a jury, you probably shouldn't say hi to them, right?
Right. In that case, we've seen in cases where they haul you in because I think that was in the ice cream man. They brought him in and said, Your Honor, a juror said hi to me in the elevator this morning. And they had to have this whole thing because the juror said hi. So same sort of very strict rules around confidentiality. She somehow gets her license back. Don't know how. But then by that time, she really leans into that she's this life coach. And so Ruby and Kevin seek help with her first, maybe for their marriage, maybe for they were having some what they called behavior difficulties with their oldest son. So she was around at the time that then they send the son, who's the oldest son, they end up sending him to one of those like wilderness boot camps. And I don't know if you've done any research on those lately, but oh my gosh. Turns out that a lot of those had some nefarious people working for them. And because these kids were kind of down on their luck and the parents were like, well, I'm done with you. I can't stand you anymore. I've got to get away from you. You've got to get better. You can't come back until you're better. That put those kids in a very vulnerable situation. So there was a lot of abuse going on at places like that, these reform type of camps or treatment centers. And they were not run necessarily by the American Psychiatry Association. There were no checks and balances for these things. And so there was some, shady things going on at these camps. So at this time, Ruby begins to just go whole hog on connections. She's like, this is the thing I have been looking for. This is going to help me with my children. It's going to help me with my whole life. So she wants to study to become a life coach. This happens in around 2020. Now, we also know that that's at the same time that COVID is happening. So some of these things there could be like a comorbidity with COVID happening, because at that point in time, after Ruby goes whole hog on connections, she cuts her family off. She cuts her 3 sisters off. They used to be like in the vlogs together. They're like, oh, it's a family reunion. And isn't this cute? We can both put it on our vlogs. So.
I mean, just going to say real quick, being an LDS and then going into something else and then cutting off your family, it sounds familiar. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
It does sound familiar. I think we're all thinking the same thing. It sounds a lot like Lori Vallow, Daybell. So. She cuts her sisters off. Now, she remains Mormon, much like Lori Vallow. She, still professes that she's Mormon, etc. Her eldest daughter moves out of the house because she is able to go to college at that time. And then it's, I think, a wonderful thing. She begins to see that what's going on in her home. And so she stops contact with mainly Ruby, but both her parents. So she stops contacting them as well. So now Ruby, Kevin, and the other children, the other 5 children are really in this vacuum because they're not with the extended family anymore. The oldest daughter is like, I'm going to go no contact. So there again are not as many checks and balances. We see this in abusive relationships all the time. They want to isolate you. They want to put you somewhere where nobody is looking over you. Nobody is going to say, oh, that's really wild. I don't think that that's good at all, etc. So, I'm looking down to find my place again. So if there are any comments that you see, babe.
Well, I just want to say to Karen, she asked so when I opened the box, Karen, these fell to the side. So I was going to wait until the next time Donnie's on, I will open these from the unboxing. I am sorry, Donnie and Karen.
Aww.
These went to the side and then they ended up, under some of the wrapping paper and I missed them. So hope Donnie feels better. Let me know when he's back and I'll wait to open these. And Karen and Donnie, again, thank you so much for everything. Go ahead, babe. Sorry.
Yes. Okay. So, Ruby starts She cuts off the contact with the family. She starts training to be a life coach. I said that part already, maybe. And in 2020, there are a couple of CPS visits to the home. Now, there wasn't enough evidence to get a warrant or whatever it was. Neighbors called in. Also, family members are saying that maybe they called in, that they were trying to intervene. But unfortunately, nothing came to fruition from those CPS visits. In 2022, randomly, as Amy Prala mentioned before, YouTube never demonetized 8 passengers or any of this stuff. They never took it down, although they are trying to say now that they took it down. Pretty much the whole thing on the subreddit and everybody who was around for this whole time is saying, no, Ruby took it down in 2022 and everything started being connections. So the content's removed. Kevin moves out of the family home. This is a big deal in Mormonism, folks. It's a big deal. You don't get divorced because if you know anything about Mormonism, they are sealed to each other for eternity when they are married in the temple. And that means that, babe, this is wild because this would mean that you would spend eternity with your ex-wife.
I'm going to pass on that one if that's okay.
And I would spend eternity with my ex-husband, which I'm also going to pass on. But that would be because if we were Mormon and we were married in the Mormon church, we're sealed to that person. And you can't get unsealed. You can get divorced, but you're still sealed, apparently.
Does this have anything to do with Ned Flanders, Ned? Or that was all what Lori made up, Ned and hey, would you blow me? That's
right. Because she was saying because they were married in past lives, that's what made them be able to be together in eternity as well as on earth. Because, they were together prior to, because Ned Flanders, the demon that Lori, that possessed Charles, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
it's a very good, astute observation, babe. So then the oldest son moves out because now he's of age to be able. So the two sons are out of the two oldest, son and daughter out of the house. And late 2022, the children are not enrolled in school anymore or not showing up to school anymore. So again, less oversight. And then the arrest happens on the 30th of August. So last month, just 9-10 days ago, what happens is the two children. Now, this is kind of confusing because Jody and homegirl Ruby, they live 4 hours apart. They live in Utah. Utah's a big state, they live 4 hours apart from each other. And Jody lives in this giant, looks like a freaking compound. She's rich AF. And so she lives in this giant house in Ivins, Utah. I checked the pronunciation on that. That's correct. All right. So she lives in Ivins. And the family home for the Frankies is in Springville, Utah. These are 4 hours apart. Now, two of the oldest children, or the middle children, they're the two middle children, they were left at the Springville house by themselves. And Ruby is traveling back and forth so that she can tape these vlogs and YouTube videos and Instagram reels for connections. And they tape all these in Jody's, basement because it's just so pretty. And, you've got to watch some of their interviews seriously because they wear these silly, like the Britney Spears microphone. And I mean, they just look ridiculous besides saying a whole bunch of ridiculous stuff.
Babe, I just ordered one of those for the stream for me. Are you serious?
Babe, Babe, I told you to get the ones that you put on your head, like the Broadway stars. It just
I
like
should have got those.
tapes right here in the middle of your head. And then people just kind of have to ignore it the whole entire time.
So I just want to confirm. So she was driving 4 hours to film all this stuff with the kids. How often?
Very often. So she would leave the kids, the two middle children, home alone, at the Springville house, but she had the two younger children there at the Ivan's compound. That's what I'm going to call it because it's creepy to me. So at the Ivan's home that day, at 10:50 a.m., one of her sons, the two smaller children, he escapes. And I mean, he escapes because he had duct tape around his wrists, his extremities. He had wounds where they could tell that he had been tied up with rope. He was malnourished. I'm not saying he was hungry. I am saying he was malnourished, which is an actual medical diagnosis that is not just like our kids when they go on the hunger strike for like one day because we make them have chicken nuggets, or like on vacation when we had Italian 2 days in a row and so then they wouldn't eat.
That was a
It's
problem.
not like that. Okay, folks, you guys have not had a malnourished child. This child was malnourished. So he escapes. He goes to a neighbor's house. He asks the poor child. He is asking for food and water. So the neighbor, of course, is completely disturbed by the vision of this child, lets the child in, calls 911. The police show up, and these kids were alone at the house too. Jody's nowhere to be found. Ruby's commuting from back and forth from her 4 hours where she's probably just listening to her own podcasts and her own nonsense. And it is a very dire situation. The police search Jody's house and they find that the littlest daughter is restrained and they find her in a similar condition as this little son. They get them to the hospital. And they then are like, well, where the heck are these other two children? Because she has two minor children. Where are the other two minor children? So they call the Springville police, and the Springville police go to search the Springville house, and the daughters aren't there. And that is because some people have surmised, and I believe that there's no other option if this is what happened. Ruby and Jody caught wind that the cops were searching Jody's house, and they were like, oh my gosh, get the other kids out of the Springville house. So is everything okay? There's like a beeping. Is that me? Meow. Hang on. I can't hear you anymore, honey. I still can't hear you.
I can't hear you. Can you guys
I
hear?
can hear you now.
All right, we're good.
Okay.
Sorry about that, guys.
Sorry, guys. Okay, so they serve a search warrant upon the Springville house. The children aren't there because Ruby and Jody had caught wind of this. Jody calls her good buddy over in American Fork / that's around Provo, Utah. And they're at a friend's home over there. So the police track them down. And they are in non-malnourished condition. The two middle children are in good condition. There's no rope restraining. There's no anything. So they arrest Jody and Ruby around 8 p.m. ish. Ruby actually tries to go to the hospital, and the hospital is like, no, honey, you're not coming in here. And they contact law enforcement, and so they arrest her. They arrest Jody. Ruby says nothing because she's clearly at least listened to one episode of Defense Diaries. Nothing except that she wants a lawyer. But Jody says the two little children, so she says their names, cannot be around other children. Not sure what that means. This cryptic message of banana sandwich nonsense. So
And these
they're in jail now, in a state full of Mormons. The jail, my friends, is called Purgatory Jail. I am not making this up. You can't make this shit up. Seriously. So the jail where, jails where you're like held before you go either to prison or you get out is called purgatory, the waiting place. I don't know if you know much about purgatory, babe. That's like the waiting place between hell and earth.
what do you do there? Do you just kind of walk around and talk to your other friends in purgatory?
I mean, I was too scared to ever ask a question about purgatory. All I knew was that I did not want to go there because it's super hot, just like hell.
Wait, it's
And
hot like hell? So how is it different than hell?
Well, yeah. I think that some religions believe that you can like pray somebody out of purgatory into heaven. However, not in my religion. It was pretty much if you were going to purgatory, you were just on the fast track to down below.
But I don't understand. Why, if it's purgatory, why don't just say you're in hell? What's the difference?
Well, honey, I don't know. And you're not allowed to ask all these questions.
Well, I'm asking them now, so...
I know. I'm not saying you're not allowed. I'm saying...
No, I know. I'm kidding, babe.
You're not allowed to ask these kind of questions because you can't really you can't have much critical thought when you're in these types of things because it's not really encouraged. So, they're being held without bail. We found that today. So that's great. They have been charged with multiple felony child abuse charges. So that's a big deal. So, what did they do to these kids, right? And when did this all start happening? And is it Jody's fault? So that's what I'm going to talk about now. Because during the 8 passengers, there's not cable in purgatory, babe. There's definitely not.
There's not cable?
I mean, there's probably like dial-up internet, but yet your mom keeps getting on the phone.
So I can't get into the chat room?
No.
So it constantly is just that noise, and then like it never connects? Is that what purgatory
And what
like?
would really happen is some cute girl said ASL to you, and you were going to type in, and then...
And that's where it hangs up?
Mm-hmm.
Can you see anyone in there? Like, are other people walking around next to you and trying to get on the chat rooms, or?
I think so. I think okay. You're in there with some real bad people, just like you.
Right, but so then, I mean, you should be able to make friends at least, right?
I mean, you're trying not to make friends. You are trying to somehow get reconsideration to go above because you don't want to go below.
So how are you going to do that? Is there a church down there? How are you going to do that?
Babe, again, if I would have asked all these questions, then I probably would have just been sent to my mom out in the auditorium and out of Bible school because I would have been deemed a troublemaker who was trying to do bad things and who's going to go to hell themselves. So then I'd probably, if I died in my sleep, hell for asking those questions.
So for those who don't know, I'm an atheist. I was brought up, my mom is Roman Catholic, my dad is Jewish. I was raised with nothing, and then I decided I was I'm an atheist. And Shannon obviously was brought up, religious. I don't know however you want to say it, babe. But this is how our conversations go because I don't know anything, and I just have a ton of questions. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, babe. Continue the story.
It's okay, honey. It is all right. So what happened, right? And was stuff happening before the Jody stuff? Well, my friend who's actually here tonight in the chat is the person that was like, hey, you guys should cover this, Jessica Ferguson. She's here. Thank you for being here. You're one of my very good friends. And she told me that she used to watch 8 Passengers when it was on. She used to be one of their viewers, but she quit watching it because of the way that Ruby was treating her children. So Ruby and Kevin were super freaking strict. I mean, to me, it's abuse. I mean, there are a few things that aren't abuse, but a lot of it is abusive in my opinion. So here's some examples. Now, we're not going to show you the videos because first of all, YouTube said don't show the videos or you'll get taken down, and we don't like to piss off the overlords. Second of all, the children are in the videos. We're not going to show videos of children getting abused on our channel. Like, that's everything we're against.
But by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, YouTube was okay with these videos until the shit went down. Everyone could see it. It had millions of views. It was okay. Then this went down, and now they're like, no. But then they were fine with it. They were making money off of them making money. So go ahead, babe. Tell the
Janet. This is a great question that Janet just put in the chat. Did watchers of the channel never report the parents? Watchers of the channel, although they were a lot younger than the parents typically, the viewers, yes, they absolutely did. There were petitions online to look into these parents and to say that their parenting methods were abusive. So here's some examples of things that they did on the vlog, like laughing, like, ha ha ha, this is what they did in front of the camera, people. So who knows what they were doing behind the cameras? So first of all, eating was a privilege in their house. So that could be taken away from you as a punishment. You could no longer eat. For example, when the one daughter was in kindergarten, happens to be the daughter that was restrained at the home, she forgot her lunch. And the kindergarten teacher, of course, calls Ruby and is like, hey, your daughter doesn't have her lunch. Can you bring lunch over? Ruby is banana sandwiches in her car doing a little Karen video where she's like, I hope nobody gives her food today because they're uncomfortable. Right now, my daughter just texted me on the phone that she's hungry. I mean, you can't make this up. Go to the kitchen and get something to eat. You are not allowed to just access things. If they went to the fridge, they say to them, oh, you thought you were entitled to go to the fridge and get something to eat. They couldn't go to the fridge in their own house. So
are you going to
does not take the lunch to the kindergartner. She's going to let her starve. All right.
Wait, babe. Before you go to the next example, I just got to give a thank you to Shannon L. $10. Shannon rocking it on Friday Night Psych. Hashtag ShanBayNation. Thank you, Shannon L. And then Ashy Snow, who's in the chat. Jay and Shannon, the best fucking duo on YouTube, $20. Thank you guys so very, very much. We really appreciate it.
And you know what else? Every time you hear it, you're like, Bob's dance, right? So what I was going to say is also Shannon L. placed a merch order today.
She did. I said thank you to her. She did, yes.
Oh, that's so great. All right. So anyway, Ruby. And I am not excusing Kevin. I hope the teacher gave her food too, Karen. And by the way, this is like the triggeriest stuff that we're talking about right now. So if you need to leave for this part, go get a drink of water, go get something to eat, stretch, pet your pets, do these types of things. That's fine. Please do. Because this part will be over and then we'll get more into like a meta-analysis type of thing. So she tells that same daughter, when that daughter is like 3 years old, that, the daughter is cutting things around the house, like, oh my gosh, Brian was doing this like just 2 years ago. For some reason, he would just like cut a snip into his clothing. And I was like, why are you doing this? But they don't know why they're doing that because they're kids. And they just like see something and they're like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I did this. And they cut their clothes. So the little girl, who is 3 at the time, starts cutting things around the house as 3-year-olds do. And Ruby, on the vlog decides to take the daughter's very favorite toy and take a pair of scissors and say, do you understand that if you cut anything ever again, I will cut off the head of your toy, your favorite toy? Daughter melting into tears. Terrible. The oldest son, who they sent to the boot camp, well, he comes back from the boot camp and then she's like, oh, hey, I don't think our viewers know this, but you've been being on punishment for a while. And he's like, yeah, I haven't had a bed for 7 months. I've had to sleep on a beanbag in the living room. The reason this kid gets his room taken away for 7 months and his bed, and to me, this prank is hysterical. It is the funniest prank ever. This is a sibling prank, and it is funny. And if one of our kids did it, I would laugh. And then I would be like, you can't do that. But he tells his brother in the middle of the night, his little brother, that mom and dad are taking us to Disney World. And he tells him, and you've got to get up. And you got to be quiet and pack all your stuff. So like the little boy like packs his whole bag and does this whole thing. Like 2 a.m. They weren't going to Disney. So, I mean, that is something that a brother does. They took his bed and his room away. They were like, you're sleeping on the floor for 7 freaking months. And he had just put his bed back in the video. And she's like, if you're laughing about this, I guess the punishment wasn't strong enough.
$20 Venmo from Missy Mayhem. Shannon is a boss babe. I love her. Heart emoji. We love you, Missy. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah. It was. He just pranked his brother. Exactly. It was a freaking prank. 7 months, no bed. Sleeping on a beanbag in in a beautiful, I know I said that the Ivan's house of Jody's was really nice. The Springville house was gorgeous. It's like multi-million-dollar house as well. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. All right. She read through all they were not allowed to have privacy. Privacy was a privilege. They got all their texts read out loud on the freaking show. For, if they had a crush on a girl or a boy or whatever, it got read out loud. They were embarrassed. They took the oldest daughter bra shopping on the show. I mean, I can't even imagine the shame and embarrassment and feelings that would incur on your teenage child. So, one of the worst ones I saw, I think, I don't know. You can't
After you do it, we'll take a little second of a mental health break. After you do it, because Donnie's here and I'll open his glasses.
Oh, good. Okay. So there's only 2 more things left from the things that they had. So the 2 youngest who they find out are restrained. They are, she and Kevin say in this video, they are selfish. They are doing all these things and they are not repentant. They don't repent. And they're not penitent. Anyway.
Only the penitent man shall pass.
Thank you. What's that from, Lord of the Rings or something?
Oh, madam! Are you serious? Babe, you don't know what that's from? Oh my God. Put it in the chat if you know what only the penitent man shall pass. Please, someone other...
Shawshank?
No! Babe! I'll give you a hint. It's my favorite of a series. It's the 3rd one.
Oh, well then it's Indiana Jones.
Yes! The Last Crusade! Only the penitent man!
Sorry, I don't remember that part.
He's got to pray. So he prays and then he does a ninja roll. He does a ninja roll after he prays because the sword blades are coming out of his head when he's getting the grail. Oh.
Well, again, as Mandy has
Only
out
the
in the
penitent
chat.
man shall
That
pass.
movie was like PG-13, I'm pretty sure. So I probably didn't see it for a while. I really just remember Indiana Jones, like the girl with the like wrote on her eyelids, "I love you" or whatever.
In the
It's right
class?
here.
That's what you remember about Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, so, and then one more last thing. So they're not, they're not penitent. The children, they're being. She says they are making egregious decisions. Now these are tiny children. They can't make egregious decisions. They can't even decide much of anything besides which juice box they freaking want. And so she and Kevin decide that year they will not have Christmas presents. They will not have Santa Claus because they are so bad, Santa will not come for them. And they follow through on this, and they do not give the two youngest children Christmas presents or Christmas, but yet the two younger children have to watch all the other kids have Christmas. Now I'm going to end with this biatch, what she says, because she says, when your kid accidentally hits you, and this is like one of those moments where she's just like, ah, your kid accidentally hits you and you wish you could punch him in the face. And then she says, good thing there's cameras here. All right. It's time for a mental health break.
Mental health break. Apparently it's penitent. Penitent?
All right. That
Penitent?
makes sense. Yeah.
Penitent. Only the penitent man shall pass. What is this wrong with this poll? Are you guys out of your fucking minds? It's the Last Crusade.
Raiders. I'm sorry, babe, that you.
It's the Last Crusade. It's Sean Connery. It's the Last Crusade. Have you guys lost your mind?
Ford.
What?
Young.
Yeah,
Harrison
River Phoenix. Young Indiana.
Young.
We called the dog Indiana. Have you guys lost your fucking mind? It's the Last Crusade. All right, mental health break, because now I'm getting upset. Well, I was upset anyway, but Donnie's here, and I missed this. I will ask for answers, and then I will fight, Mandy. That's what I do. Mental health break. Donnie's here. Tracy's never seen Indiana Jones? Oh, this is upsetting. All right, Donnie's here. Mental health break. Oh, Shelly, babe, do you want, while I'm doing this, do you want to get Shelly's package?
Here?
Do you want to go get Shelly's package?
Yeah.
It's on the couch, I think, right? So while Shelly sent us something, we weren't going to open it because we thought she was away. We'll open that. So here we go. Donnie sent me this. I'm going to open it now.
We just got a letter.
Thank you, Allie.
We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
Thank you, Allie. Your husband's right. This is really wrapped again. Oh, we got a 10. By the way, we got a $10 app from Tangled Crochet. Crystal, thank you so much. We also got $10 from Liz Merrill. Shannon is amazing. I agree. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Crystal. And then it says thank you, Shannon. You're amazing, and we love you, folks. The reviews are in. We all agree. Shannon is amazing. Thank you so much, guys. God, Donnie, this is really... All right, the first layer is done.
Oh, boy.
The second layer is done. We're down to the paper towels. We're down to
Baby Bo saw the Indiana Jones movies last month, so she's been doing her homework.
Yes. Which is your favorite, Madeline? All right, now we're down to the paper towel.
Gosh dang it, answer my question. I didn't see your question, T-Pain. My dude, as you would say.
Very nice. Thank you.
Oh, babe. You
All
look
right.
not at all like Poot in those.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm trying to scroll up to find. Which is the one with the? Oh yeah, that's Temple of Doom. The little boy that now won
That
an
won the
Oscar.
Oscar for
Sure, either one.
Everything Now, Everywhere, All the Time, Everywhere at
Now,
once,
and then
at once,
once
all
you're
the
done,
time.
you can maybe make another one.
It's Temple of Doom. Everything. Thank you for the glasses, Donnie. Go ahead, babe. Now you open Shelley's. Everything, all at once, everywhere, all the time. That I don't know his name, but he won.
He's excellent. He's an excellent actor.
By the way, I thought that movie was a little overhyped, but go ahead. You did too, babe.
I did too. I just said he's an
Oh.
excellent actor. That doesn't have anything to do with how
I know. Well,
terrible
you
I
made
felt
like a
the movie was.
face.
Sorry, that has a grout cleaner in it, so you're gonna have to use non-liquid measuring cup.
Short round. Yep. Also,
Okay.
data.
Stamps. Woo!
Yay, Shelley. Thank you,
Good.
Shelley.
So good, because I kind of have beef with this guy that works at the post office, so I hate going there. Oh, he's the worst. And then
Thank you, Bella.
thank you, Shelley. This is from our wish list.
Oh shit, Shelley. Thank you. She needed that.
Thanks. I need it because I have a wire and I have to hook it into something else, and it's a whole thing. Thank you. Oh, yay. Well, that was nice. So,
Are we done with the mental health break?
sure, babe. I mean, how happy are you with the poll results?
I'll end them for the mental health. I'm not happy at all with him. Okay, here's the poll results. And I just want to let you know, everyone who voted, the 16% that voted for The Last Crusade, you are all correct. Pat yourself on the back. She asked if you also got a gift card, babe. No, I think we got that no, Shelley, we got that, I believe, via email. So thank you so much, Shelley.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
I didn't see that. Thank you.
I believe we got an email. So just everyone who voted for 16% for The Last Crusade, pat yourselves on the back. You got it right. And everyone who else who voted the other way, you got it wrong. You've embarrassed yourself. You have embarrassed your family. Go watch The Last Crusade and learn something.
Meow.
Not you, Gary. Not you. How dare you, Gary? Go ahead, babe. We're done with it. Go ahead.
Okay, honey. So, luckily, we don't have to hear anymore. I know that you guys, from that stuff alone is on camera, and I cherry picked that. From that alone, I think that you're, going to agree that those are examples of abuse. Now, those were all done during the 8-passenger series when Kevin Franke's still in the house. Jody Hildebrandt, maybe the therapist, at the time that they give him the beanbag chair. All right. So I'm really mad about the freaking taking the kid's room away. All right.
Serenity now, babe.
I know. I got to calm it down. But the main thing is that also, besides this, there was another level of abuse going on. So now here's where I'm kind of turning and not just talking about Ruby Franke. I'm also talking about momfluencers / family vloggers.
Before you do, is Sloan still down here?
Yes, she's going to make brownies.
Sloan, could you get me a glass of water? That would be wonderful. Thanks so much. Go ahead, babe.
She actually brought out cookie mix and brownie mix because she wants to try to make both because she knows I'm not going to be mean right now because I'm talking about a mean mom.
Sloan, could you give me a glass of water, please? That would be wonderful if you could.
She's getting it right now, babe, she says.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So, any hoozle. These kids are working literally all day, every day, these family vloggers. Similar to what you may have seen, and if you haven't seen it, I highly, highly, highly recommend Shiny Happy People, which is the documentary that talks about how the Duggars, 21 kids and counting, were raised. There is, they couldn't give consent for working, for putting their image on the internet, for profiting off their image, for profiting off their lives. They couldn't give any of these things because they're minors. And it's abusive when the person who's in control and power is the one making all the decisions that, could harm you. Also, something interesting is that there is not a law for child influencers like there is for child actors and child models, etc. This is not really a thing. I believe it's only a thing and just recently in Illinois, they passed a law that is a similar law to the Jackie Coogan law, which if you're an actor or a theater person, you probably know about. Jackie Coogan was basically his mom stole all of his money. And he tried to sue his mom to get his money back, but it was gone. He didn't get his money back, but they did change the law. So there is not a law like this protecting kids' income. So these kids made tons of money for Kevin and Ruby, and none of that is sheltered for them. None of that is set aside. It's not guaranteed that they will ever actually profit from all the work that they did. And frankly, they were humiliated on camera. And I mean, the girl is going bra shopping on camera. And, her peers at school are seeing that.
Right to jail, right away. Right to jail, right away.
It's fine. Okay. Yes. So, the whole thing is that also you are constantly bathing your child's brain in a curated reality. You are telling them to do things that are not real all the time for the camera. They're always on display. They're never able to just be kids in their own home and, do whatever, because Ruby is always trying to present this, and Kevin are always trying to present these little soldier children, the little obedient children that, never say no and never ask why, and, do all things that children, we know from child development, children's brains cannot do. So it's a struggle constantly on camera. So they have to be like miserable 24/7. So, and what I was going to say next is that, there's a lot of problems. Yeah, I did say that. Problems with all this is that child development, their brains can't do these things. I mean, and you don't want their brains to do these things. You don't want to raise an extremely obedient child who never questions authority, because what happens to those children? Somebody tells them to do something that they perceive as an authority and they do it. And it doesn't matter if that thing is bad for them because they are afraid to question. And so even though it drives us crazy as parents that our kids are, but what, but let me negotiate, but let me, it drives us nuts, right? But it means they are mentally healthy. It means that we are safe people because they are not afraid to question us and lose our love. They are not afraid completely so much of authority that they're just going to jump off a cliff if somebody tells them to. So, although it makes us nuts, that's the good takeaway from how defiant children can be. So, this connections thing is mostly what I want to talk about I just have a few more points. I feel like I've been talking so much. And babe, I haven't really given you a chance.
I told you, babe. People wanted me to stop talking around Tuesday afternoon. Everyone is saying how you're crushing it. So
Okay.
You're good, babe. They love hearing you. They're tired of hearing me. So keep going.
Okay. So, in a hoozle, this whole thing with like the connections thing and people being like, well, Ruby, she got into a cult. I agree with you. However, most of these things that were happened prior to Jody, and things got worse, as they often do. So this connections thing, their whole thing is it's principles versus distortions. And this is something that I talk to you about all the time, babe, that makes me crazy about cults in general and religious cults, is that everything is freaking vague. Like, all the language is so vague. It's like principles versus distortion. Oh, Bill Gothard, the guy who is in the Duggar documentary, his was the Institute of Basic Principles. And, Keith Raniere, they had like things, and Scientology, like, you want to go to the next level and you want to be on the next tier and you want to experience whatever. So these are all so vague that when you hear them at a conference, you're not thinking, oh, this is a cult for sure. You're thinking, yeah, I have principles. I would, be better off if I, maybe worked on my humility or my parenting, whatever. So they pull you in like this with this vague coded language. And unfortunately, when you are raised in a high control religion, which Mormonism is high control. Now, I'm not saying that to disparage anyone who may be a Mormon in our audience tonight, but you would agree with me that the dude that goes to Methodist church maybe once a month or only on Christmas and Easter and considers himself a Methodist / Christian, that is not the experience that you have with your faith, because you are in a higher control environment where things are more expected of you in order to claim your faith. So I think we can agree on that. Now, the thing with this completely coded language that they have is that people who are in these high control environments are totally primed. Their brains are ready to just soak this in. They're not going to have critical thought and thinking and think, oh my gosh, this is wrong, because they trust this person. This person's an authority. You need to submit to authority. So it causes a clusterfuck. And the thing about it is, and this is the one source that I did not put in the description that I will put in there, because this is something that I think is freaking amazing. And if you haven't heard of this, it's one of my favorite models. Yes, honey?
I was just going to ask, Sloan, are you making brownies or building a house? What's going on in there?
What? Are you making brownies or building a house? It's kind of loud.
Are you building a new extension to the kitchen?
She's unloading the dishwasher.
Oh, thank you for unloading the dishwasher. That's.
No, I was grabbing the brownie thing.
Okay, thanks.
All
honey.
right, Emily, $15. Hashtag couple goals. Thank you, Emily. Miss Esquire.
Thanks a lot, man.
So, yes, I am seeing some people in the. So we talked about triggers for child abuse earlier, and now I should have stopped before I did all this, because I am in a pretty good place about this. But yes, this is triggers for people who have religious trauma, and there are a lot of people out there who have religious trauma. So please, if this is bothering you, turn me off, go put on some great loud music, and do something different. This model is something that I look at all the time because I was raised in a higher control religious group. I know that my brain is primed for these kinds of things, so I need to always evaluate things. I'm learning to evaluate things as an adult because I didn't learn to do that as a child. I was a very obedient child. There are no raisins in the house, Mandy, so she can't put them in. Don't worry. No raisins will be in these brownies. This model that I've learned about is called the BITE model of authoritarian control. And it's Dr. Stephen Hassan. I hope I'm saying his name right. But he is a doctor of organizational development and change. And he came up with this model, and it's BITE, so it's BITE. And B is behavior. If a group is seeking to regulate and dominate your behavior through strict rules, rewards, punishments, and limiting your individual autonomy, that's a high control group. If they're also limiting your information stream, so they're controlling the information flow through censorship, propaganda, and restricting access to other perspectives. So a lot of times in these high control groups, you're homeschooled, or you go to a college that aligns with your faith, that so you're not getting the same flow of information, or you're not allowed to watch certain movies. You can't read Harry Potter, etc. So the information that's coming in is there's already been a sifter that's, pulling things out that they don't want you to have. The next part is thought. And that is psychological techniques that people use to shape your beliefs, your attitudes, suppressing your critical thinking, and promoting conformity. You want to be totally unique, but you want to be unique in the sense that you and your group are together, and you're better than all the other people. So that, again, like we talked about before, is also excluding you from other sources of information, other sources of people that are like, whoa, what's going on? I don't think this is good. So, thought, we went over that one. And the last one is emotion. And emotion, it's about manipulating emotions, fostering dependency and loyalty. So you are fostering dependency and loyalty on the group by using love bombing. No one loves you like this group. No one loves you like this. You can't get love like this from anyone else. No one knows you like we know you. Guilt. If you're not conforming, then guilt is heaped upon you. And fear-based indoctrination. So fear-based is oftentimes a very extreme punishment. I know that in Scientology, they have to go to like something called the Sea Org, which is like they are isolated. It's a 9x13. The first one, sweetheart. Preheat the oven. So they are threatened by this giant threat of what will happen to them. And it may be in this life, or it may be in another life. I know there's some people that believe you have to be reincarnated. You're going to have to, redo your life, or you're going to go to hell for XYZ. So these are things that can turn a person very fearful, and they need to then cling to the same thing that could be possibly hurting them. So that was the BITE model from Dr. Stephen Hassan, and it's super informative, and I love it. It helps me all the time to, kind of determine things too, because sometimes people will say that everything's a cult. They'll be like, oh, I love my Peloton. Like, it's a cult. No, it's not a cult, Becky. Like, you just exercise a lot. Like, it's not a cult, because you don't have the whole model. See, I just go through the whole model and then I know. So anywho, my final thoughts on this are that Ruby was already a hot mess express, because she was primed to do these types of parenting that were very children obey your parents and the Lord for this is right. She has that down. She has down, spare the rod, spoil the child. All these biblical type principles probably also exist in the Book of Mormon as well. So she expects she has high expectations for her children. And we know that they are outside of the realm of child development. So you get disappointed and you get frustrated and you get angrier and angrier and angrier. And then she meets Jody, who is a verified mental health professional, and tells her, like, hey, I've got the answer for you. You're living in distortion. You've got to move over to principles of truth. If you do principles of truth, your children are going to, like, just walk like little perfect soldiers who are just perfect everywhere they go. And I think that at that point in time, she had been so frustrated. First of all, she has 6 kids, babe. Can you imagine that?
No. 3 is too much.
Right?
I was just thinking about, having them and then having to drive 4 hours almost every day. I mean, we had to drive like 3 hours for the vacation. I almost hit the little left signal and went tick, 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 and drove right into the ocean. So I don't, not
I
me.
know, and I wouldn't have blamed you. It was frustrated. It was so frustrating. And yeah, so she's got that going on. Obviously, marital strife is going on because Kevin, has moved out of the house. It's too much. It was a pressure cooker. And then, this woman is coming in with, you've got to be more strict. You've got to the punishments have to be harsher because obviously these punishments aren't working. Taking away Christmas isn't working. You've got to freaking duct tape them apparently into the room. So I think that Ruby Franke's brain was already primed for this perfect storm. And hopefully these types of cases are going to come out more because I think there's so many cases like this that we don't know about. Because can I put it in the oven? Yes. I'll be done here in a few minutes. So I'm getting frustrated, but
Keep building the extension, and when we're done, we'll help you.
anywho, back again. Feel like Beetle. Who, me? Jody did not make.
I'm back, baby!
Sorry.
Huh? Me?
Yes, you, Beetle. I like Beetle. I don't like the other person who joins the stream that's a snail. Meow.
That's not very nice.
Meow. She's 12. The house won't be on fire. She's done this in her family and consumer sciences class. So don't worry, people. She's actually pretty good. Brownie's 4.8 hours. Yes, exactly. Oh, she's celebrating because I told a good thing about her. So what I was saying is that this is not relegated to the corners of society. And if you saw 8 passengers and just looked at it without listening to it maybe, or without watching it all the time, you would see this freaking gorgeous, Ruby's gorgeous, her husband's a good looking guy. They have good looking children. They dress great. They have a wonderful, beautiful home. They're riding around in the little van going to do all these adventures because, for the vlog. And you will see that and think, oh man, when we go 4 hours, I want to drive into the ocean. But they've got it like so good. Like they're doing everything right. They're shiny, happy people. So it is just, you do not know what is going on behind closed doors. And there are groups and sects of people that are doing this to children. So watch the Duggar documentary because it's another great example. And that's not Mormonism, that's evangelicalism. Evangelicalism? They're evangelicals. So watch that. And I wanted to.
Babe, I think you may have said the first time on the stream since you've been on the stream where everyone doesn't agree with you. And that's regarding Ruby Frank being attractive. Frankie. I think that's the first thing you've said where folks didn't agree with you. I'm just saying, but go ahead.
Okay. You know who she looks like to me? If someone played her in a movie, it would be Elizabeth Hasselbeck. I think she looks just like her. She does pull some strange faces, but when she's like dressed up to the nines, I think she's an attractive person, at least from the beginning of 8 Passengers. She has kind of gone by the wayside a little bit, but I don't want to talk about her looks because
I don't either.
that would
Sorry.
be mean of me.
Yeah.
So, anywho, I also linked a great book in the description it's Sara Petersen. It's called Momfluenced. It's an amazing book.
There goes the fire alarm.
That was saying it's preheated. So it is ready to go in, and I will put it in just a second, Sloan. So I want to end with this quote. It's not really like end worthy, but it's such a good quote, and I forgot to put it in earlier. So this is from Sara Petersen's book, and she says that this actual quote is from Matt Klein, who is a cultural theorist and cyber psychologist who studies our relationships with technology. He says that momfluencers occupy a unique place in the influencer landscape and that they are different from other influencers because they've largely remained immune to the greater shift towards less glossy imagery and more gritty, raw content like TikTok that other genres of influencers have gravitated towards. While all influencers are tasked with pushing products, momfluencers also sell something more profound: idealistic fantasy. It's escapism, it's performance, it's aspirational, unattainable. Still, we really don't care. It's what we signed up for. Knowing how impossible this is part of the fun and the appeal. It's pleasurable, it's voyeuristic, it's unrealistic, and we know it's not good for us, but it feels so good. So true. I mean, you can probably think of, if you're a woman and you consume Instagram in this audience, you can probably think of some influencer that you just, for some reason, just keep watching. Just keep watching them. Do everything. Even though then they're like trying to hawk you deodorant. Still watch them. So, honey, what are your closing thoughts on this?
My closing thoughts about your performance are... Great job, babe. I think you crushed it. As always, always well-researched and presented in a way I think that folks love to hear. You did awesome, babe. And one thing I did want to say, because sometimes we saw this during, Valo, and I haven't seen it here today, but I just wanted to bring this up, is, I see sometimes when they talk about these things, these cult, people that are brought up like Lori Vallow or these folks, and like sometimes there's this sentiment like, well, why don't they see that this is, how could they not know? When you are brought up from birth and raised, and this is shoved in your head, you don't know another situation. So from the outside, folks may be like I said, they're like, well, this is ridiculous. How could you believe that? They are raised from babies, and this is what's crammed in their head. So it's not surprising. And so I hope we can have some grace for folks, who believe this stuff, and also, I know we know a lot of folks who have got out of it and are pretty amazing, and have, I know just you doing this stream can be triggering, and I think they're pretty awesome, and I give them a lot of credit, and they should be proud of themselves, because I know that this topic can be tough. So I wanted to say that.
In this type of situation where you're saying you're raised in it from when you're a kid, a lot of times your parents were raised in it too. And so it's generational, that it's just trauma going back for so long. It's similar to when we watched King Tato on the stand, and he was raised in gang culture. He didn't know anything different. He became, the head of the Latin Kings when he was, I don't remember, 15.
No, no. He was born into it. 15, he was like the king.
Right.
That's
Right.
Yeah.
He became the king of the Latin Kings, the head of the Latin Kings at 15. So similar indoctrination types of things. You could go through Dr. Hassan's list on gangs, very similar. So I'm glad that we didn't see that in the chat tonight, because it is hard. It's really hard to see that for people who do have religious trauma, or who have escaped and left, or who are thinking about it. Because a lot of people would be like, oh my God, I'd never be in a cult. Well, of course you wouldn't. You wouldn't just like sign up to be in a cult. If you're born into it, you don't have a choice. And they target people who are vulnerable and who need belonging, or who need freaking childcare, or who need something that isn't provided in our society for people. Fellowship, friendship, belonging. All right.
Well, thank you guys all for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. Like I said when we started, this week has been pretty freaking insane, and I thank you all for being, on this ride with us. Just in general, we're going to the moon, folks. If you've seen some stuff we're doing here, we're going to the moon. We appreciate you guys coming on that ride with us. Big things coming. This stream is going to go on the portal, and it's going to take you to Feral Friday with my boys, Steve and Dan. They're going to have Chris Duet. It's going to be awesome. So, any final thoughts before I set up the portal, babe?
I was just going to say, if you guys haven't seen Chris Duet, you've got to. I mean, he is amazing. So it's always a great time at Publicly Buzzed. Hell yeah. Look, it even has my name on it. Ooh, right there. Anywho, you're going to have a great time, but he's really freaking amazing. So I'm so excited for our beautiful boys having on Chris Duet tonight. And I'm excited for next week, because Sunday, right after Murder Church, you and me are going to talk to Mac and Joe about Gilgo Beach and about, the crime scene and the Rex Tierman stuff. We're starting out Sunday waking up for Murder Church with the Brothers Buzzed, and then just rolling through the week from there.
Not the brothers, because Dan can't be woken up.
I'm sorry. Dan doesn't go
to... That's too early for Dan. He's sleeping.
Dan is not indoctrinated into the Murder Church.
Yeah, but that's going to be... saying. No, he's not. But that's going to be crazy. Me, Shannon, Joe, and Mac, it's going to be a lot of fun after Murder Church, which you should be there. And then this crazy week, then we have Karen Smith, who will explain who she is. She's got a podcast. Joe Waldman from Surviving the Survivor, Wednesday at 8 p.m. We're interviewing the interviewer, me and Shannon. Joe Waldman, Surviving the Survivor, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Still blowing my mind. Friday, Jessica Knoll, Women Who Rock. We're to the moon. To the moon. And I think, as Dizzy says here, anyone who didn't make it to the Probably Nothing Hour in the old Discord, looks like you're going to do another one. So check out the Voice to Lounge. Yay. But as always, mods, thanks so much for all the work you do for us. We love you guys. Thank you, the community. We love you guys. All right. Put on your safety belt. Put on your helmet. Take your knees. Pull them to your chest.
Ladies, kind of brace yourself for a really rocky ride.
Rocky ride. Here comes the portal. So deuces, YOLO, fuck you, Ted.